Being a Chicagoan, I have to ask you about the Pope. Pope Francis, known as the People's Pope, progressive on some matters. I don't think that they're going to be progressive on everything. But do you think there's a shift coming in politics via populism, politics, religion? It's almost fitting that I asked that question in that way, considering your last answer. But do you see this shift happening overall?
Yes, and I think the Catholic Church, being a church of many, hundreds of millions, maybe billions. I don't keep up with the numbers, but an enormously important and large institution has to be part of that. That's not a matter of choice. They can't avoid it. I mean, they have millions and millions of parishioners that are thinking and wondering and experiencing everything we've just been talking about, and that's going to filter its way up through the hierarchy right up to the tippity top. And I think you can already see it in Pope Francis, who's not with us anymore, and this new Pope, who we really haven't gotten to see and know all that well yet. So I think it's important that both of these popes worked in what we used to call third world countries. Argentina, in one case, Peru. I know he's an American, but he's been working for a long time in a poor third worldy country, Peru, in Latin America. I think that's impacted both of those people. You're right, some things are not going to change. Even the new Pope has said that their position on abortion, I believe, and a couple of other issues, celibacy of the priests and so on, is not going to change. But I think they stress that as a kind of cover for what is going to change. Pope Francis, because I can't talk about the new one yet, but Pope Francis made critical statements about capitalism over and over again. I pay attention. So, I mean, I follow this stuff, and I have found it very important that he felt the need, given all the pressures pushing the other way, he felt the need to articulate that as the leader of a major world religion, he wanted to say that the world could and should do better in a moral sense than capitalism. That is very profound. What that does is, as it filters down, it emboldens this bishop, that cardinal, this monsignor, that local parish priest who has those ideas to feel much more comfortable about articulating them in a sermon on Sunday, in a Bible class, in a meeting of clergy in a region. These ideas can be articulated because the person articulating them can quote the Pope, which, at least in a Catholic environment, pretty much means you're okay. You can't be shut up, at least not so quickly, if you're articulating the words of a sitting pope or even a recent pope. So for me, this is a sign of something. And then I was struck by Francis having courage on a number of issues to carve out a place for the Catholic Church that was very unpopular among Catholics. Not all, of course, but for example, he was crystal clearly against the repressive measures taken in regard to immigrants. He constantly, I'm talking about Francis now, quoted scriptures where it was clear that the Bible suggests that an immigrant is like a poor person. You, as a good Christian, you should help them. There's no way to justify that and then deporting large numbers of children in cages. I mean, for God's, and by the way, not just here in the United States, many of the countries in Europe behave awfully to their immigrant population. So he was making this comment, and by the way, many of those countries are Roman Catholic by majority of the people in them. So he knew he was talking about something that many of his fellow Catholics felt differently about it, and he wanted to say this is the moral teaching of the church. I think this is enormously important. I want you to know that I grew up in a Catholic community, and I'm aware of the yes, the Pope is far away, and
Hmm.
yes, he's over there in Italy and all of that, but it has its impact and it has its effect on teaching um, to the people by the clergy. And so, yes, it's for me, a very positive sign. And the early indications that this American Pope wants to carry that part of Francis's style and approach into his own papacy is, for me, another very good sign. And let me give you another one, even though you didn't ask this one. Well, you did, I guess. I still teach in the university. I'm older. I'm retired from the job I had at the University of Massachusetts for many years. But I teach at something called the New School University here in New York City, which is a well established and well reputed university. And I can tell you, my classes are very different now in terms of the spirit, the attitudes of the students I teach. I teach mostly in a master's and a PhD program. So my students are in their mid 20s to early 30s as an age group, well educated. They've all been to college and so forth. Um, they are critical of this system. They are critical because their job prospects are very poor and they know it. And no one led them to understand that this was what they were going to face. They went to school in part in the hope that it would mean a better job. They're no longer clear, and the statistics indicate they shouldn't be clear that they're going to get that. I am struck by how different it was for me when I was going through my American university education. It never dawned on me that I wouldn't have a job. I just assumed that as I finished my program and graduated, there would be all my fellow students. We might not get the job of our dreams, the one we chose, but we would get a good job with a good salary and good security, able to raise a family. We just assumed it.
Hmm.
All of us did. Whereas my students today, none of them do. None of them. They expect, if they want to stay in academia, that they're going to be, I don't know if you're familiar with this, an adjunct professor.
Hmm.
It's this horrible word where they don't really appoint you. They let you teach a course and they pay you per course, like $2 or $3 or $4,000 per course. So you teach one over there at St. Mary's University in the Bronx and on Mondays, and on Tuesday you teach at Staten Island Community College two courses, one in the morning and one in the evening. Then on Wednesday, that's your life. Your life is like a gig, like a musician who has a show Monday night in the Bronx and another one Tuesday night in over here, running around like a chicken without a head and cobbling together a few jobs to have enough money to put food on the table. That's what my graduate with their PhDs, that's the story of what they're expecting. And they don't see that changing, get ready now, in their lifetimes. And you know why does this sad story make me happy? Well, as I say to them in the class, you took this class because you're already critical. You're not just lying down feeling bad about this situation. You're angry. You feel something has been pulled on you. Something has been done that could or should be undone. And I'm here to tell you, you're absolutely right. I'm not going to criticize you. I'm going to give you, I hope, the tools to understand why this is happening to you and to fight to change it. Because, and they are responsive in a way that all I can tell you is it makes me very, very optimistic. We may be going through a very hard time now. We are. and it may get darker still. It may. But there is also building at the same time a groundswell that when it breaks is going to undo what has been done in the last 40 years, the way the last 40 undid what had come out of the New Deal here in the United States.